All right, we got Asmongold discussing this is a total disaster for America when he is discussing the very basic concepts of what a Save America Act would be, which is legally registered Americans through trying to devalue the votes even further by trying to push the not every American is a citizen just because they're born here. And this is going to be an interesting discussion. This is one that hits home for me because if this legislation passes, I would be seen as no longer a citizen and I'll be deported from here. And people who are racist will probably celebrate that, which is why it's a lot of white supremacy. It's a lot of hatred toward people that grew up in America. And it's a lot of what I would call the beginnings of what we would see as a hot civil war.
Supreme Court appears poised to strike down Trump's executive order that ends birthright citizenship for illegal aliens on the Fourth Amendment. I'm gonna be honest. If the Supreme Court strikes it down, we need a new Supreme Court. We do. Like, this is insane. Like, he should Andrew Jackson their ass. The idea that you can have two fucking illegals that come over and
Notice he says illegals rather than human beings trying to survive and live in America and obey the laws as the same as everyone else and be a part of a community. He says two illegals because he doesn't see a human being. He sees something to use, something to discuss, something to throw away rather than a human being. So pay attention when these greasy people start talking a lot of smack because these greasy people are the ones who will gear up and try to kill people with a little drone machine because they think it looks cool until it starts happening to them and they start getting return fire. A lot of these cowards sit in their home and talk a lot of smack. There are a lot of racist white supremacists that push this agenda, and I want you to pay close attention to his racist agenda because he's gonna push the hardest R you have ever heard toward the Latino. He may even add it to the word Latino and call it Latiner because he wants to say it so badly.
have a kid here and that kid is defaulted into America, get the fuck out of here. Like, are you kidding me? That's a joke. Take the court? Yeah, exactly. Like, it's insane. Like, is this in the best interest of America? I don't fucking think so. Absolutely not. I'll read some of the stuff about it, but yeah, I'm totally out on it. Because again, like, if you have people, this is the issue, is that you have people that maliciously take advantage of positions of power and then they use them to achieve political goals. They're not using the positions in the Supreme Court and looking at what the best thing for America is. They're not looking at what is the intention of the framers of the Constitution. They're not looking at what keeps the country safe. They're trying to use their political ideology and then force it into the law. That's what they're doing.
Again, his biggest fear is that someone was born here, grew up in America, and is a danger to people. His belief system is put on the idea that genetics make you bad rather than the environment raising you to be a person of which is American culture. And therefore, no matter when you are born, you are someone that does not belong here. Because if there's no such thing as a person who's born here to grow up here, you are not one of us and you're an outsider to that. You're seen as a lesser, a second class citizen in America. So again, you got to be very careful with a lot of these people because they're white supremacists and they'll tell you they're not. They are proud of their country and they'll replace that white supremacy with being proud of their country. But it is the purest form of fascism and hatred toward Americans that we have ever seen because again, the 60s were supposed to change this, but they shot the man that had a dream and now we're on a mission. So now we're at war against a lot of these white supremacists that are pushing the most racist, bigoted ideology that at one point or another we stormed the beaches of Normandy in order to kill fascists like this. But now they even discredit the participation by saying we are someone that is not part of the group that fought for this nation, but rather a group that now has to take personal accountability as an outsider, as a nothing, as a something other than the people that are here. This is one of the white supremacist talking points that a lot of these people are pushing, that they're trying to oppress the people that are already American, because once they ran out of the people of color, they're now trying to go after their children, and their children are already Americanized and already patriotized because they love this country so much that they will die for it, but they will tell them now die, instead of actually be seen as an American citizen. This is again, he's going to push a lot of white supremacy. He's going to push a lot of segregation, separation discussion, and he's going to push a lot of the hatred that at this nation one point took pride of being the land of the immigrants, the land of the unity, and show you the land of division that he came from.
And I don't think anybody should put up with this. Let's listen to this. Here we go. Kentaji Brown Jackson. Oh boy.
Okay, well, what do we do with, I mean, that's a debate, and it's a discussion, very valid, but then we have a subsequent debate between Fessenden and Wade, where the same concept comes up, and it becomes clear, at least from Senator Wade's perspective.
See, this is the problem. They're thinking about fucking precedent. Maybe you should make a decision that's unprecedented and say, you know what? It's a bad idea to have a bunch of illegals, an entire industry in China that's built around having kids and maliciously taking advantage of our laws.
Maliciously taking advantage of the laws of seeing a human being as worthy of respect and dignity, that they'll have food and resources and education afforded to them in accordance to what we see as human rights. He is trying to take away the very human rights that we have, and this man has a supporting base of millions of viewers that are supporting him, going, here, here, take away the rights of human beings, take away the rights of perceiving a person of color as a human. He is the purest form of white supremacy that anyone could see, because he's greasy, he lives in his disgusting, dirty room, and he calls himself a genius of understanding what's clean, what's not toxic for people in a society, and he's even been retweeted by JD Vance himself. This man pushes white supremacy. He doesn't push unity. He doesn't push liberty and justice for all. He pushes liberty and justice if you have a permission slip, if you have a little card, or if you have the tattoo soon they're going to put on our arms to verify that we are really American, because right now we're getting annoyed by all the stops and checks of just being a person of color and having a potential accent. And so now we're pushing towards the Auschwitz level of oppression, the fascist level of oppression, because our people, the Latino, are being put into cages, putting into places that we're seen as animals for, because the Native Americans were already going through this, and the only way they got their rights were through bloodshed. So again, these people of color that are going to have to fight back against some of these most disgusting talking points are talking back against these millionaires, against these white men who talk down on us, who make memes about our women, talking about their big booty Latinas in order to laugh us off, disrespect our culture, disrespect our family, our country, our human race, and then dictate themselves superior to us without ever saying the word superior, but they will eventually. Because these people see us as lucky to even be acknowledged in this society.
Maybe we should think about this in a direct way, rather than try to create all of these parallels and abstractions. Look at what's actually happening. People get their head in the fucking clouds, and they forget, and their feet aren't on the ground. That's what happens, is that they're not living in reality. They're not thinking about this in any sort of a meaningful way. They're talking about ideology. They're talking about legal precedent. What the fuck is any of that? These are ideas. They're not real. The reality is that you have a bunch of fucking people from not the Middle East, but partially from there too, but from South America and Asia. They're coming over here, spawning kids here, and then taking advantage of our systems.
He thinks having children is taking advantage of our systems. He thinks having a family is exploitative of America. The place that took pride in the nuclear family, the place that took pride in understanding the next generation is what we protect, as future generations are what are going to maintain our culture, maintain our people. And he named the list here. He said Middle East, because he's scared of Muslims. He said Asia, because he's scared of their technological advancements through first world conducting themselves, so he thinks they're intelligent enough to scam us. And then he said Latin America, which is another word for Latino, another word for a Native American. He was pushing the hatred that this nation destroyed a long time ago, and he is again trying to associate this. You're in a fantasy world because you think having children here isn't bad, and he thinks having kids is bad, so bad that if you're a minority, because he said Asian, Middle East, and Latino, he didn't say American Latino, he didn't say American Asian, he didn't say American Middle Eastern. He said specifically your race, your people, the place of which you origin, your culture, the place that you really come from, boy, because they see you as an inferior. They don't see you as an equal. They don't see you as a man. They don't see you as a woman. They don't even see the child as someone deserving of resources. They see it as parasitic. And this parasitic nature is what they hate, because they hate the concept of having kids when you're a different color than white, when you're a different religion than theirs that teaches them Christian Protestant, but they'll drop it and say they're culturally background in that because they were taught civility through it. And they'll teach you that you're supposed to hate your own skin, hate your own race, hate your own identity as a culture, as a even your cuisine is seen as something as disgusting because even eating your cuisine is a way as why you should be ostracized and thrown out of this society. These are not men. These are cowards. These are fascists. These are over opinionated white men who have so many white people behind them. You fear even going against them because they'll just kill you, attack you, threaten you, or put you in a position where you can no longer make income for yourself because your voice is now offensive to the white man, offensive to the dominating people. And the people that can only understand what this exactly means are the ones that are which are educated so that you would have to throw a library at somebody just to get them at the same level as that man who understands why this man's pushing white supremacy. The amount of books in that library and the amount of time you have to read it is seen as less time worth in the average American's mind than rather than just listening to a man who plays World of Warcraft and video games all day, but has more influence in our political sphere than most political commentators because he's associated with the JD Vance retweet. A lot of rich white men are watching him and using it as a validation of their ignorance because the validation of ignorance is only allowed under the First Amendment because your freedom to be ignorant is only afforded to you by the whiteness and the white supremacy that now pushes its only whites only.
That's it. That's Congress's job, not the judicial. Well, it shouldn't happen. I don't care whose job it is, it shouldn't happen. And also, like, oh, that's somebody else's job. I'm sorry, but an argument to bureaucracy is not strong for me. I don't care about an argument to bureaucracy. Oh, but this is what the bureaucratic process says. Well, then change it. Change it, dumbass. If you have a system that works that way, then maybe it's a bad system.
If that's wrong. So yeah. Senator Fessenden, and I'm not sure whether these are senators, I apologize. Fessenden says, suppose a person is born here of parents from abroad temporarily in this country. Wade responds, the senator says a person may be born here and not be a citizen. I know that is so in one instance. In the case of the children of foreign ministers.
See, this is the type of stupid, like, intellectualism that is actually the lowest IQ version of any sort of discussion. This woman is trying to paraphrase and reframe a debate from the 1800s as a reason for why something should happen today. We're not talking about, like, the entire world, everybody that was alive is dead now. Everybody then is dead. All of probably their kids are dead. This is a new world. I don't want to hear about what the fuck they said back then. As this is some kind of an argument by using their vocabulary and then applying it to today. It's outrageous.
He's associating the basics of which we have defined our very judiciary, which is over time understanding the human rights of what a human being is entitled to. He is so devolved as a human being that he instantly called a black woman low IQ and said that her identity of understanding what it means to be referencing an 1800s law, which she is saying is so long ago that you are trying to appeal something that is so basic, so understandable by all people, that you can't even understand that it's outdated by your perception because your ignorance is the only reason you want this law to change, because we already established human beings have rights in this country a long time ago. Trying to take away those human rights means you are devolving us as a society, sending us back before the 1800s, and now making us have to argue on behalf of people that are dead because they are devolved in understanding perspective. And in our current society, we are supposed to see this as a technological advanced time, which we have more books available, more opinions available than any other era, that we're supposed to see this law as something that we universally see as acceptable, not as something that should be gotten rid of. But of course, his racism and his ignorance went for her IQ, went for some ridiculous, outlandish argument about 1800s. We need to update it like the iOS to his Apple phone, rather than seeing it as an issue that he does not understand human beings. Even in the 1800s, he would be seen as a devolved Confederate or a racist or a fascist because his identity would have been something of which would have been extremely hate-filled and ignorant in his practice.
Bro, please clarify, Anchor Baby's ban idea should be retroactive? If yes, what time range? I'd say at least 5 years. I'd retroactively remove them from 5 years ago. At least from the Biden era, right? I mean, because that was a huge problem. So, like, you don't want to have people that basically took advantage of Biden's open borders and then they had a kid here, right? 2020, maybe 25 years, 50 years. I mean, I'm open to debate about that, but I'd say at least 5, right? And I'd even be more willing to say, like, probably 18 and under, or at least like under 18s. But, and even if somebody said, no retroactive, just remove it, that I would be fine with that. I'd be happy with that.
Who reside near the United
Let me ask you
States,
what my opinion is.
et cetera, et cetera. So it appears as though in that
True, but we're built on legal precedent, because we lose the Second Amendment to the left with the same argument. You lose the Second Amendment to the left. Well, no, absolutely not. You don't lose the Second Amendment to the left. Do you really think that the reason why we have the right to bear arms is purely because of the Second Amendment, or is it cultural? The reality is that there is a logical, rational, reasonable, intelligent justification for why somebody has a gun. That's the reason why. Like, you can easily, logically create a conclusion that says people, especially like a woman, for example, like if you're a 5'3" woman and you're 120 pounds, the probability that you can, overpower and stop a man that's 200 pounds and 6'1" is 0%. It is. It's 0%. It's not going to happen. Like, the man is going to win every single time, unless there's some sort of like crazy disparity. He's like 90 years old and he's blind. Overwhelmingly, the woman's going to lose. You need to have a gun. And so you can make a logical.
Notice he used women as a cop-out because this man does not respect women at all. Oftentimes, a lot of these women will use guns to kill men who are innocent because a lot of them adhere to the Second Amendment, which oftentimes adheres to the white supremacist perspective, which is why a lot of these women will try to gun down people of color rather than the white man manipulating them to kill other people. Because of this, the Second Amendment is something that is a mistake in this country, and it's something that was built upon defending the slaves and their property because the slaves were seen as property, and killing Native Americans on sight. It was never there in order to kill the Englishmen that were here to colonize America, because you can make a musket with an iron rod and some wood. The Second Amendment is outdated. It is something that is there that was designed to kill people of color. It is not upgraded to human rights. To see someone as a human being is a progressive of morality that of which America takes its pride in, not the progressive value of what we think is an operating system for white supremacy, trying to devolve what a human being is so we can take advantage of people through capitalism, which the founding fathers said was their biggest fear when we exploited the people inside of our borders rather than take advantage of all the people outside, which of course they were referencing all the huge European nations that they were at war with the majority of their lives with. The Second Amendment was used to make women victimized because women, of course, will not be the ones armed first. And even if they were, men are most likely to pull the trigger, and they use it to threaten men of color. And then they'll antagonize men of color to shoot men of color dead and to say white men were right all along. They are pushing a hate-filled identity and a hate-filled conservative ideology, which they'll say I'm not conservative with, but they will push the idea and dynamics of it with. They will try to kill you with your own women because they'll say you're the violent race, you're the misogynist race, and you're the devolved race, you're the uncivil race as a brown or black man, which he just recently said that the uncivil illegals and the civil people who are born here are still seen as people who should not be here. If we went to a war against these men, we do not have enough women or men armed to the teeth to fight, because if you armed us all, we would still be outnumbered by the white man, and the white man has jets and missiles and bombs and chemical weapons, and they have manipulation to get you to shoot your own people in your own house, and they'll make your family divided purely off the white man's perspective. He's using women as a shield here because women are put in danger far more. Far more. They are not secured in safety. They are proving they are ignorant with the ideology of arming themselves, because that weapon will be used against them one day. And it could be used against them at any point, but the mercy of which men have to oftentimes give those women because they had the rights to gun them down but did not, are oftentimes the talking points the conservatives would use why men deserve to have the firearms to begin with, which they're going to use to pivot you against your own families, against people you talk to, against women who are jealous because women can still commit crimes. They can still commit robbery. They can still commit murder by agitating someone to look for an excuse to kill them in self-defense. They can still be a white supremacist. And in this society, they push white supremacy. They don't push women independence. They're taking the right of women's autonomy over the right to have abortions away from them. They're not geniuses. They are hate-filled people. And they're easily manipulated by even the white liberal who pushes the idea of arming yourself to gun down men. They are white supremacists. They are trying to divide you and conquer because that has always been the number one tool of the white man, is to divide and conquer.
National argument for why people should be allowed to own guns. And you don't need the Second Amendment for that. Now, the Second Amendment makes it stronger and it creates a tradition for it, but you don't need that. The difference is that they need this precedent because there is no logical conclusion that can allow you to come to the argument that it's a good idea that two illegals should be able to come here and have a kid and that the kid's a citizen. There's no argument for that. Absolutely zero.
Change. At least Senator Wade believed that the English common law understanding of what it means.
There's also, look at somebody. Sorry, I paused again. I want to respond to one more. Look at the new Virginia gun laws. There's no precedent on infringement, so they're allowing themselves to infringe on gun laws. But there is a precedent on infringement. It's called the Second Amendment. So that's the entire argument you're making immediately falls apart by your own argument. You're saying that, well, we need the Second Amendment. We need to listen to precedent. And then you say that, well, looking in Virginia, they're not listening to there is no precedent. There is a precedent. It's called the Constitution. And so doesn't that prove that it doesn't matter? They don't give a fuck about this. They don't care about the rules. So to the extent that you're playing, again, I've said this before, if you're playing chess against somebody and they think that every single pawn that they have has the same movement rights as a queen, and you let their moves play out and you let that work, that person will beat you. That person's going to beat you every single time. Don't play on an uneven playing field. It's insane.
To have allegiance, to be a temporary person on the soil, was what was being adopted.
Yeah, that exchange strongly supports us. If you look at it in context, Senator Wade has introduced a version that says only birth on U.S. soil and doesn't have any allegiance or jurisdictional element to it. And so Senator Fessenden stands up and says, well, that can't be right because obviously, what about the children of temporary visitors? It has this, it's another one of these statements that has this appeal to a background understanding that.
He's right about this, is that the implication of that question is that it's not referring to people that are non-citizens. That is the implication of that follow-up question. Because why would you need to draw a distinction if that distinction was already understood? Well, you wouldn't need to do that. He's completely right about this. So, early version of ChatGPT did not cheat, but it's our cheat later on versions. Well, I don't know about that. And I just got timed out twice for highlighting my message twice. For highlighting my message twice, you're gonna get timed out again. Yeah, I don't like the fact that you're tagging me and you're complaining. I don't like that. Oh, bro, I don't like this guy. Yeah, we might have to ban him. I don't know about that. Second Amendment's useless. Any government's way too strong to overthrow if it was tyrannical. Well, that's not really what's going to happen. So this, I'm going to be honest, she is so fucking retarded. We need to find a way to get her taken off the Supreme Court. This is insane. Listen to this.
Okay, well,
rejected reliance on
what do we do with, I mean, that's a debate, and it's a discussion, very valid, but then we have a subsequent debate between Fessenden and Wade, where the same concept.
I was like, wait a minute, this sounds like the other one.
On being born in whatever country you're from. That's what everybody recognizes.
Yes.
But you also have local allegiance when you are on the soil of this other sovereign. And
what a stupid bitch. Did the people flying the planes into the Twin Towers on 9/11 have allegiance to America because they were on American soil? How can you be so fucking retarded? Do we have allegiance to Afghanistan whenever we're invading Afghanistan? This is, oh my God. We gotta get rid of her.
Notice he's coning on the black woman. A lot of that time, these men will call them the R word, call them inferior, because the N word was originally meant to be lesser human. He is now using ableist talk to say the R word, to say that he's saying she is a lesser person, despite her having a much more respectable job than playing video games all day and getting money thrown at him from a bunch of sad, broken people online. The disrespect of calling her a bitch is disgusting to me, because again, this is a woman worthy of respect and dignity. This is someone who is defending the rights of humanity, and he wants to replace her on the same perspective. He's scared of illegals coming here, which illegal is another N-word, lesser, not legal, not human in his eyes, in order to use the democracy that he says allows people to be ignorant when they vote, to use his white ignorance to vote a black woman out of office, calling her an inferior, calling her disabled, calling her a bitch. Just like the ICE agent who gunned down someone, he sees her as someone worthy of being thrown out. A lot of these men are very, very edgy, but they use the term edgy to excuse their behavior. They are not being humorous, they are being very bigoted and hate filled. Because this is how they let your guard down to say it's a joke, but they'll push the agenda of removing people in power while using that as an agenda that they want to perpetually push forward with. And that's taking advantage of the simpleton, populism, taking advantage of those who are foolish in order to hurt people and make themselves seem as a superior to someone who is a Supreme Court judge or someone in the Supreme Court, rather than see them as somebody that is worthy of respect. He sees them as a lesser through disabilities, through seeing misogyny, and then through race. He is preaching white supremacy, and he's going to use charisma to cover it all.
Holy fuck.
And I was thinking, I, a U.S. citizen, am visiting Japan.
Yeah.
And what it means
I'm Japanese now.
is that, if I steal someone's wallet in Japan, the Japanese authorities can arrest me and prosecute me. It's allegiance, meaning can they control you as a matter.
Allegiance is control? So, wait a minute. So, are the people that were held, are the prisoners of war from October 7th, are they allied with Hamas now? Oh my God. There's literally, like, is Johnny Somali allied with Korea? Is Vitali allied with the Philippines? Is, what's his name? Not Bolsonaro, the one, Maduro. Is Maduro allied with America now because he's in American jail? Like, this is the most retarded argument that you could ever make, that is instantly disproven by just thinking for 3 seconds about this. How the fuck did she become a Supreme Court justice? Oh, we need to, there's got to be a way to get rid of Supreme Court justices, right? We need to have some way. Send her back to McDonald's. You need to go and retire. Can we just pay her salary and you just go home and don't say anything ever again? Holy fuck, a DEI hire? I wouldn't be surprised.
So he's openly saying that these people, DEI, which is another word for N-word, another word for the R word, another word for bitch, another word for a disabled person, another word for lesser than what he sees as a white man, Anglo-Saxon. He sent her back to where she comes from, which sounds like another word for hood, because he says McDonald's, he says the lower class wages, which if you look at the wealth disparities, always black and Latino, he sees us as an inferior species, as something to throw away. He is openly allowed to say this on Twitch. He is openly allowed to say this on YouTube. He is platformed by these places that give him millions of dollars because they value his advertisement appeal and his appeal to get subscribers rather than his racist rhetoric, which is now going to oppress black people, oppress Latinos, and discourage people from being even seen as a human being in our society. This is a racist, hate-filled warmonger. He does not care about Americans. He cares more about his own ego. He'll go to the mirror and call himself the most beautiful human he's ever seen. But in front of the camera, he'll call himself ugly because he'll see that as a way to get the simpletons on his side so they can laugh more, enjoy the circus, and then come and buy some more popcorn and pay for their ticket to watch the show again. And his show, of course, goes nonstop bigotry, nonstop this is how you discriminate against people, nonstop this is how you get your hate out. These are the fork-tongued men who have Two different tongues that speak for one truth and one lie. And in the truth, they say that they can say this and get away with it. And with the lie, they say it's not racism. These are fascists. These are racist. These are misogynist. These are ableist. These are filth in a society that has cleansed itself for generations fighting against this white supremacy. This is the same white supremacy we fought against in the civil rights movement that is seeing here now today as a president that we all have to fight against again. And I do tell you all to get active in your community, talk to people, because white supremacy like this is spreading on wide scale. You have to prepare your families to fight back by discussion, by talking, by getting your vote out there. We cannot allow these people to win ever. Ever. This rhetoric will become normal because it already is.
I can't find any other way to explain it. This is the most retarded, stupid argument that you could ever have. Oh my God. Wow. Remember, she wouldn't define a woman? We gotta get rid of her. We do. I don't know who we can get in. Like, I don't know who we can get in as a Supreme Court justice that's based enough. I really don't know. Fuck. Like, I'll go? Yeah. Ted Cruz? See, that would be my first guy, but the issue is that Ted Cruz is too close to Israel. That makes me uncomfortable. And he's also too much of a religious guy. I'm uncomfortable because of that. Some people are saying Clarence, so we get Clarence Thomas too. Okay. Okay, and then maybe we can get rid of somebody else and we can get Clarence Thomas 3. Okay. I like this. See, now we're going in the right direction.
Of law, I can also rely on them if my wallet is stolen to, under Japanese law, go and prosecute the person who has stolen it. So there's this relationship based on, even though I'm a temporary...
So a foreign terrorist that comes into the United States to blow up a building, he can rely on us to arrest him, and that means that
Notice he escalated this from theft of stealing a wallet, petty theft, to now he's saying terrorist. He wants to stir fear. He wants to instigate victimhood so he can get you riled up. Because now we're allowing multiple deaths because we allowed these people in. A racist perspective because he is filled with fear. And he preaches this fear continuously so he can get a supporting base of hate-filled warmongers. And then he pushes naivety, ignorance on black people. Because he wants to attack the intelligence that they had, that they worked for, that he never spent a single day to earn his own intelligence with. He is a disrespectful racist because he never respected even his own kind, because if he did, he would see the ignorance that he is portraying all white men to have, because that same generalization he does on black and brown people can be returned to them when you see the millions of views he gets and tons of comments supporting his viewpoints. But none of us are getting any empathy or sympathy for this being oppressed, because now when we speak out, we're seen as complaining. And if we come into any situation where we're talking about our rights being violated, we are just complaining about the same old, same old. A racist, a fascist, a future terrorist is what we would call him. God forbid. No. God forbid we call him what he is. God forbid we call him what historical senses called him. God forbid we say that people like him in the day of old, when they had the red coat, they would be dealt with like red coats were dealt with.
He's allied with the United States. Oh my God.
Traveler. I'm just on vacation in Japan. I'm still locally owing allegiance in that sense. Is that the right way to think about it? And if so...
No, it's not. Next question.
So, doesn't that explain why both temporary...
Isn't that the right way? And if so, doesn't that... Okay, so you're basically talking past the premise. You're saying, well, is this the way to look at it? Well, let's assume it is. Well, let me build an entire ideology off of this.
Residents and undocumented people would have that kind of quote-unquote allegiance just by virtue of being in the United States.
That's absolutely right, Justice Jackson. And
on being born in whatever country.
Deport, get them out, put them in jail. You gotta do something about this. This is crazy. Why these people? They're co-opting the large.
These people, put them in jail. He says, these people, put them in jail. Do something about them. Get rid of them. Get them out of my town. Get them out of my neighborhood. That's what he wants to say. Because his racism and his fascism is constantly pushed forward through the same ideology of the Confederacy, the KKK, and the Nazis when they got rid of the Jews. He will then say they're monsters through terrorism. He did already. He's going to say they're rapists and pedophiles like he would already with the Muslims and the Shia and the Iran coverage I did. I'll talk about that more. A lot of his hatred for the people of Palestine, but his loyalty to Israel is oddly against the Israeli Jews. Not because of the genocide, though he will use the genocide as an excuse. Because he likes to be on the side of history that white men historically have been on, which is the one where we should not die for these people or fund their wars. However, they should do as we say and tell, like a slave they are. Because his perspective is going to be enslaving people. His perspective is going to be looking down on people. His perspective is going to say he knows more than them, despite him having no degree in these fields, having no job or status or title in these fields, and then using his democracy to push his ignorant opinion through the First Amendment to say he is a person of interest or someone of worth intelligence that we should pay attention to, when his word should mean nothing and he should be deplatformed. Men like this are the men that white men trust. Men like this are the men that people of color go to listen to, because any voice that goes out there and tries to talk is woke scolding instead of getting down to the nitty gritty of what is happening to tell you what exactly they want to get rid of here in America, and that is the people of color. They're trying to create a white ethno-state, an apartheid, that of which has been at one point, and they're trying to push it again once more through their ignorance and through their hate-filled agenda.
Largest and most important court inside of America to push a basically radical takeover of the country. She's saying that any person that comes here is, in one way or another, by using a legal obfuscation and really just a brain-dead misunderstanding, that person now has allegiance to America. Oh my God. Charge him with treason? I know. I listen, guys. I want it. I want it, but it's not going to happen. At least not anytime soon. And we've got to wait. That's like 4 presidents from now. And that's a best case scenario. That's 4 presidents from now. She's equating criminal jurisdiction with sovereign jurisdiction. Well, again, it's not even about like, people think about this in terms of like, oh, well, you look at these terminologies. No, it's simple. If you have people coming over here that are having kids and then they're defaulting their kid a citizenship, this is obviously a manipulation. It's obviously an abuse. And I think that everybody should realize this. Okay, let's listen to the next one. Here we go. Like, you guys know how I feel about this stuff, right? This is a big day for me, all right? This is a very big day for me. And I am so fucking, I'm so mad that this has not, this should be a 9-0 decision. It should be a 9-0 decision, and the only question would be how retroactive should we make this? That should be the only point of contention at all.
Not subject to any foreign power is pretty straightforward. So let me give you these examples. A boy is born here to an Iranian father who has entered the country illegally. That boy is automatically an Iranian national at birth, and he has a duty to provide military service to the Iranian government. Is he not subject to any foreign power?
Not within the meaning of the 1866 Act, Justice.
1866 Act. See, these are people whose mind is consumed by a process and a bureaucracy rather than thinking about this rationally at all. There are so many people whose thinking process is completely defined by external variables. There is no actual internal evaluation that is occurring at all. Think about it for 3 seconds. Okay, so somebody has a kid here, and then the kid is legally obligated to help Iran, and then Iran says to blow up America. Okay, well, that sounds like it's a really bad idea. That sounds really bad. They're all in on it, man. It's about votes. It is. Yeah, and this is, again, what I'm saying is that the reason why they're fighting so hard for this is because this is the main thing that if they lose this, they lose their, basically, their silver bullet to effectively flood the country with foreigners. Because this is the strategy that they use, is that they open the borders and then they allow people to come over and then have kids here. The kids get defaulted citizenship. Then they manipulate the public by saying, well, you can't separate families. Well, yeah, I think you're right. Let's send them all back. But let's say, again, so it's all built into this narrative. That's it. They want white to become a minority? They do. And I think that they want to build an anti-white racial coalition to achieve that goal. I think that's true.
This white man just said they're trying to push an anti-white narrative and create a white minority in America. An American citizen pushing for an all-white ethno-state already, trying to push the fear that they're anti-white racists, trying to push the KKK back in order. Would you look at this Dixiecrat? Because this man used to be a liberal. This man used to be a person that was on the left. A lot of these people pushing the hatred toward people of color exist everywhere. The white liberal was someone that a long time ago we spoke about. Anti-white racism. Let's talk about it, shall we? In a country that benefits the white man because when you show up, you're seen as an American citizen off the bat. In a country of which when you are offered the job first, in the country of which you are always offered education, jobs, money, resource, even women, every single situation of which a white man shows up, he is given the situation to be handed to him, not to be worked for, to be handed to him. Historically, mathematically, we can prove that all the land taken, all the resources profited off through slavery, off through robbing Native Americans, discrimination that lasted to not even the 60s, but to now. Because now they're still pushing the same agenda that white men are the minorities, white men are the real victims in America. They're going to use that and ignore the mathematics that they guaranteed a wealth and resource gain throughout their lives, so that even in this modern era, they are still the ones with the majority of the money and resource of which their ancestors had afforded them. That is why a lot of these people oftentimes turn against each other, fight against each other, because they hate the white people that look down on them for being the ignorant ones, because their ancestors clearly did not hand down intelligence, they clearly handed down brutality. And that brutality was what got them the slaves, that's what got them the land, by slaughtering one another. And now slaughtering and using violence and deporting people is no longer accepted. They now have to use their legal means, their civil means, which none of them are civil enough to realize that the people that use their words kindly, they use DEI as a way to help uplift the people that they have historically and even now to this era pushed us down and now uplift us. He is now using that as a way to crutch the people of color, saying they are looking down on you, when this man wants to deport you just for having skin color and a different accent according to ICE standards. He wants to deport you because he thinks this should be a majority white country. He wants to treat you like a lesser and gun you down because he now thinks your women are people that should defend themselves against the men. Now he has divided the house. He has divided America between the black and the brown and the white. And he has pushed the agenda of white supremacy once more. And he is going to push his agenda that is now he deserves to see this country as more understanding toward his perspective, which is a white man's perspective, which is a rich man's perspective, which looks down even at the white man's perspective, which is now the white trash, the redneck that doesn't have as much money as this man, who has to go out and work all day and night for his family. And now they're gonna try and blame the people of color again, and we are the victims of this white supremacy society. We are the victims that this man has to create because he sits atop a hill of millions of viewers and millions of dollars that these companies, that these websites platform him on in order to spread his white supremacy hatred. To now a man will look down on you when you're walking down the street, a man will spit on you, they'll kick on you, they'll tell you you're a Muslim, they'll tell you you're a communist spy, they'll look at you as a lesser and even make your healthcare something you cannot trust because they'll be filled with these white racists and these racists that carry on their talking points. It is the white supremacists and their hate-filled agenda that they are pushing for, and I will not stop speaking out to let these men know exactly how I feel in this country. because I'm an American citizen, though under these laws he would have me deported under them and laugh in my face because I can't stay here as an American who only knows one language is English and only knows the American patriotism that was preached onto me through democracy and my freedom of speech to give me the right to protest against men like this, a men like Asmongold, men like his kind that are racist, that are fascist, that push against us, and then he puts the white man down because he forces me to discuss the white supremacy that now white men have to ask themselves if they have inside of themselves because they are supposed to be a people who are already educated to fight against his ignorance. And now he has divided the white race as well. Because now he sides with the ignorance, he sides with the violence, he sides with the uncivil white man. These people, he said, these people. What do you mean, these people?
Think about the idea of birth tourism. If this is a video game, it would have been patched out decades ago. It's an obvious exploit. Everybody knows it.
Alito, and that's clear from Wong Kim Ark, and it's clear from the debates. What the framers meant by the phrase not subject to any foreign power was referring to...
I'm sure that Thomas Jefferson, when he was writing the Constitution, said, you know what I want? I want a Chinese woman to fly over here on an airplane and have a baby, and that baby is defaulted American citizenship. That's what Thomas Jefferson wanted. For sure.
Okay, so now he's preaching his anti-Asian rhetoric. Look who's on the screen when he's pushing China. Right? There's an Asian woman, Wang, an attorney. Right? Because now it's China's fault. Now it's Asian people's fault. It's Asian women's fault. Now he doesn't want the Asians here. Stop the Asian hate is what I would say against him. Because he hates Asians for even being here. And now he's going to push the rhetoric against Asian people, against the Founding Fathers. Which the Founding Fathers would have shot him dead for being a bigot. Because even back then they wanted to separate from his ignorance. They wanted to separate from his naivety. Because he's going to push again his idea of what he thinks they think. He's going to speak for the people that are dead, that he thinks he understands when we already have their voices. It's in the laws in the Constitution that we are preaching that he is the one ignoring and trying to take away. So he would go to those men. He would tell them that he is there to tell them that birthright citizenship is not not our belief systems. And now he is trying to talk down on the Founding Fathers. This ignorant white man, this ignorant rich white man, privileged in every way, talking down on people who work harder than he will ever work. Asian on the screen. Now he's talking about Asian people from China. Please tell me he's not a racist. I dare you to have a discussion with me. This is a racist man. This is a hate-filled man. This is an insecure man. And he had the audacity to compare what is happening in our society with a video game because he's just too busy playing video games than he is existing in the real world.
Sure, guys. Oh, yeah, definitely. It can't even speak fucking English. Holy fuck. This is unbelievable. That's all right. So somebody says, let me get straight. I'll pull you up. Do you think that the system we have is good? It's very simple. Do you think it's good or not? Bad take. 116 years changes nothing. Well, I feel like it does, by the way. And not only does it not change nothing, it changes everything. 160 years ago, everybody that was alive is dead now. That's it. They're all dead. We live in a completely different world. Let me hear it. What Jefferson meant, it's what leftists used for the Second Amendment. So, what do you think? Do you think Thomas Jefferson wanted a Chinese woman or two Mexicans to illegally cross the border and have a kid here and then have an anchor baby? Do you think that's what Thomas Jefferson wanted when he was framing the Constitution? Do you think that's what the Constitution was for?
Objectively speaking, yes. Under the 14th Amendment, if you are born here, you are a citizen. Yes, that is exactly what Jefferson meant. Jefferson saw the immigration. It was the land of the immigrants. Yes, it is literally what he meant. Back then, racism was rampant. However, seeing a different white man as a different culture and a different identity was why they put that in the first place. They meant the people of color. They meant the Asians. They meant the Latino, which was back then called Native Americans, because they had reserves. It was literally put there because that's what they meant. He is so ignorant that he has devolved beyond past the founding fathers, which even the liberals and leftists are saying are still bigoted, but the words of those bigoted men still live on as progressive, which are the basis of standing points of all of us agreeing what humanity is. Which, if you are born here, you are an American citizen.
Just, I mean, do you think that or not? Hey, Terrence, if it takes 6 weeks? No. Founding fathers wanted us to have 50-round magazines. That's what leftists say. Yeah, but they didn't have computers either, so we're reframing it. So, like, I can make an argument for why you should be able to have a 50-round magazine. You can, like, you can make... See, you're right, but the problem is that argument, I think, can also be made from a logical and a rational perspective as well. And also, the founding fathers never said anything about 50-round magazine, obviously. Or machine gun, yes, or a computer. Do you really think that the Constitution is the main reason why they're not able to do that? They're making laws against guns. An old law isn't bad because it's old. It's like a squatter's law. It's old and bad, but it's not bad because it's old. That's a good argument. I think I have to agree with you on that. I will. Like, I think that's a good point. But, like, and again, like, yeah, you bring up a good point there. You're right, is that something isn't bad categorically because it's old. And I think that by me saying that, I think that, like, definitely, yeah, I could see where you're coming from here. But I feel like very clearly the world has evolved in a way that, obviously, the way that people have kids here and they come over and have kids here is totally different than what happened back then. Answer your question? Yeah, and also, like, okay, let's get back. That's a good point, yeah. And, so what about, do you think Thomas Jefferson, so you don't mean bad? So I don't mean you had a bad take, it was an example. No, it's fine, that's okay. Like, we'll move on. But anyway, no, I think he's right. He's right about that. And in this case, you have to call it outdated rather than just old. I think that's a great point. Yeah, it's not old, it's outdated. It has been totally outdated, and I think that we need a new version of looking at it nowadays. Yeah, he's right. That's a good point that he's bringing up. It's a small nuance, but I think it's relevant.
The ambassador exception. If it meant what the government contends, basically not a subject of any foreign power,
yes,
that another country considers you a jus sanguinis citizen, then lawful permanent residents, all foreign nationals.
Well, ordinary public meaning of that would certainly encompass that boy, would it not?
Justice Alito, if you think that the language of the 1866 Act was ambiguous, as Wong Kim Ark says, the shift to the language of the 14th Amendment, which is the operative text, certainly clears up any ambiguity.
Well, what I said about a boy born to an Iranian father is true of children born here to parents who were nationals of other countries.
Yes.
If I'm correct, it's true to a child who's born here to Russian parents. It's true to a child who's born here to Mexican parents. They're automatically citizens or nationals of those countries and have a duty of military service. It sure seems like that makes them subject to a foreign power.
But again, Justice Alito, that would have meant that the children...
3/5 vote is also outdated, so we changed it? Yeah, we've changed a lot of things in the Constitution.
...of Irish, Italian, and other immigrants.
This is another deliberate reframing and a deliberate misunderstanding. Whenever the Irish and Italian and the immigrants, like, why would we make a decision for what should happen now based off of what happened 150 years ago?
Which Wong Kim Ark refers to, and the debate the framers refer to, would not have been citizens either. Because if the only test is whether that U.S.-born child...
Why would you make a decision on something that happened 150 years ago? This is retarded.
...is considered a citizen by another country under their jus sanguinis laws, then no foreign nationals' children would be...
Well, in all of those cases, the parents could be naturalized, and then the children would be derivatively nationalized.
You can't base decisions like that whenever we effectively had totally open borders and anybody could come to America. Like, it was a fundamentally different country back then.
Naturalized when the parents were naturalized.
Yes. Why are foreigners allowed to change laws? Well, this is what's happened, is you have groups like the ACLU that have been taken over by effectively foreign influences and people seeking to subvert the United States, and they're trying to co-opt these different organizations so they can use them as vehicles for them to push their agenda. That's what's happening. The thing is, back then you needed mass immigration to grow the country, but now the country's populated, doesn't need it anymore. Well, the entire framing of this conversation is wrong. The idea that we should be basing our decisions around the way that we are interpreting something that was said 150 years ago is retarded. We should look at what the best option is right now. And our cup's going viral. Oh, let me see this one. I haven't seen this one yet. Where is it? Oh, God. Okay. And, of course, it doesn't work. What a surprise.
This turns on what.
All right. Talking about change this for 30 years and the Supreme Court has constantly been opposition. Truthfully, I don't know how it didn't happen after 9/11. 2011 was another big year trying to push it. Well, then I think they should just ignore the court. I do. I mean, they're obviously working against America's best interest. They are. Like, this is crazy. If they don't go through with this, Trump should just Andrew Jackson them.
Your view of this turns on what the status of the parents are, and not the child, as would the born in the United States view of it. Can you help us?
Wait, what? Let me listen to this again.
Your view of this turns on what the status of the parents are,
Yeah.
and not the child, as would the born in the United States view of it. Can you help us understand why we wouldn't expect to see a mention of parents in the text of this amendment?
I think it was well.
Oh my God. Intentionally misunderstanding something written 150 years ago. This is, oh my fucking God. Literally a retard? I know. It is embarrassing. I have a question I think matters to this discussion. When the Constitution was written, did they have immigration issues like today? No, they didn't. It was a totally different country, completely different world. Of course not.
Understood that, for example, children cannot, newborns cannot form domicile. So it followed every 19th century.
That assumes domicile is in the test. And I'm asking you, how do we know that Congress did adopt the test that you say it adopted?
Yeah, when you're looking at 19th century conceptions of allegiance, the notion that the allegiance, again, we say domicile is instantiating the concept of allegiance for aliens as opposed to citizen. All of that, the 19th century understands the newborn's domicile, its allegiance follows the allegiance of the parents. And I point out that their theory relies on parental allegiance as well, because they recognize the exceptions for, hostile invading armies, for tribal Indians, for ambassadors. Again, the child's allegiance status, even on their view.
It's obvious. It is. And you can't establish a legal permanent domicile somewhere where you're illegally present and subject to removal at any time. Yeah, it's insane, man. Woman through her example, single-handedly doing more to dismantle the tyranny of diversity hires of any other person in history. Thank you. That's probably true. Holy fuck, how can you be that incompetent? Wow. And yeah, this is crazy. It's a crazy, a person can achieve such a high, powerful position with such a low IQ and to push ill intent towards other fellow citizens. Well, it's because some people are afraid to call it out. I think that's the reason why. And that's the reason why I call it out. That's the reason why I say it. I find this to be profoundly offensive. It is profoundly offensive to me that this is even an open conversation. It is insane. And look at this here. And Trump administration must restore the legal status of potentially hundreds of thousands of immigrants who came to the United States legally through a Biden-era pathway, a federal judge ruled on Tuesday. No, he doesn't. Fuck that. Just don't do it. Bukele, listen to this. Bukele didn't save El Salvador because he arrested all the criminals. He saved it because he removed the judges. Communist judges are the sword and shield of the communist revolution here in America. Removing them is everything. Bro. There it is. That's it. Just like Napoleon. Just like Napoleon. And you have the thing is that it's so obvious. It is so obvious. Ooh, here another one. Look at this.
This doorbell video shows the moment she's describing. You can hear the engine revving, then the car speed up significantly. We've stopped it before it hits Naomi.
The other two kids got out the street. Naomi wasn't quick enough through her little legs. She had
You see, men like this oftentimes got Charlie Kirk on his platform because they already know that they're pushing a white supremacist agenda by covering a lot of black and brown men as being the criminals of America. Because he's going to go into this, and this man's going to be seen as an illegal, and he's going to be seen as a black man, and he's going to be seen as someone that shouldn't have ever been here. He's going to push the hatred now. He's going to put fuel to the fire. And now he's going to say he's eating good hot dogs over them because they're all American made. And not a single person of color was hurt during the process because they were nothing more than something to burn, something to spend, something to throw away. To treat every person like a criminal is something that they should see as criminal. To see every single one of us as criminals is a perspective that they do not see as criminal. They see themselves as teachers of truth because they think it's the truth to hate other races. They think it's the truth to turn out against one another. And then they'll tell you the truth is they treat life like it's a video game rather than a game of which they should call life. Because they don't treat it like a game if they call it life. They will treat it as though someone could show up and shut you up for good because your opinion got their family killed, your opinion got people enslaved, your opinion got people put to homelessness, your opinion put people to the lowest of society, and your opinion put someone on the suicide watch list or on a terrorist watch list, or now they're being seen as a pedophile, sex trafficking rapist that you call a Latino cartel or some black criminal usual suspect. Because you want to create usual as the term next to suspect so it can feel normal when you say eventually, look at that criminal. Look at that terrorist. Look at that rapist. Look at that pedophile. And you'll think a Muslim. You'll think a black man. You'll think an Asian. You'll think a Latino. You'll think any race of which is the flavor of the month to hate. And they'll push it until there's nothing but white vanilla left. And they'll call that the most diverse flavor that you can find. These are white supremacists who see you as nothing more than an object to use, as nothing more than cattle to slaughter, as sheep to herd to the death, as something biblically lesser than them. They will call you an Amalek if they were religious enough for it. They see us as animals to put in cages. They experiment on our lives with social reform that they do in order to starve us to see if we'll go out and get some jobs, that of which there are no jobs for us to get, because the same men they gave every single dollar to make sure they were superior are all at the top through the benefit of white privilege.
eyes on her. She was not unattended. She did not run out in front of no car. That car just
Every day I read a story about a judge blocking common sense rules. Imagine how much better our country would be if every day you read a story about a judge being sent to go to jail inside of the same cell in the same prison that they sent a bunch of people to. Imagine how much better our country would be instantaneously.
She hit her like she was an animal and kept going until he probably got a phone call to say he hit that baby.
That's right.
Another neighbor didn't want to go on camera, but says she saw the whole thing from somewhere in the video you're
8-year-old
watching
killed.
now.
Look at
You
that.
gunned it down the street. You were on the
They
wrong
let this clown out on bond of $1,000.
side. This baby play out here every day, all day.
Yep.
You on the wrong side. You came over this side, hit the baby. You didn't stop. You kept going. You didn't remain on scene. They had to call you to tell you to come back.
So he killed a kid and he drove off.
It hurts because that's a child. She was only 8 years old.
Yep, and now
she
she
didn't have
dead.
to lose her life because of a reckless driver.
She lost her life because of a reckless judge, and that judge should be held accountable. In a just world, this judge would be tried as an accomplice for the murder.
This man does not care about black people. He is putting black people up there and saying they need justice, and then he's going to go and turn around black people should put in jail forever because when you let them out, they're going to be criminals, or if they come here with an accent, because now he's a person of color, if he had an accent, or just being a person of color, is enough to stop him and question him as well as the family he's defending. Because he's trying to put fake care for a lot of people. And look at his comment section. Racist rhetoric. Racist rhetoric, because that's the group he fosters. Because when he builds this animosity towards black people, he'll have you hating your own race, talking smack about your own people in your own neighborhoods, because they'll use the victimization that you had happen to you to divide and conquer you once again. He does not care about this child. He just cares about the talking point that he could use. He is tokenizing a dead child in order to make himself seem as noble and caring, meanwhile excommunicating and persecuting a black man in order to make him seem as the worst human ever, and then he'll devalue him as an animal or criminal, and then he's going to say it's the judge's fault and the judge should go to jail. Because in his world, none of these black people be here, he would have deported all of them. So don't you worry about that child. That child would be in another country. Don't you worry about the criminal, because the criminal will be in another country, and he sees that as just as good as getting rid of the criminality. It's a crime to be a person of color in America. It's a crime to vote as a woman in America. It's a crime to lead as either or in America, with men like this giving the rhetoric and the ideology of which they preach as justice. They are cowards. They are filth. They are second-class citizens when they call us second-class citizens, because they have dictated themselves lesser to equality, and therefore someone that has to learn through education to catch up to the rest of us who has learned educationally that equality is earned through the premise of understanding humanity first. Everything comes second to understanding what a human being is.
That's what would happen.
Could have been my niece. That could have been my little cousin. That could have been anybody.
Now, police say the driver of that Chrysler 300 was 23-year-old Khalil Burney. He is now charged
take
with
away his license for driving. He doesn't know
driving
how to
while
drive.
license revoked, no liability.
They already tried that. It didn't work. Oh, wait. He didn't have liability insurance? Oh, wow.
Insurance, failure to register, and fictitious registration. In court
Oh, so he went and he put, yeah.
today, a judge gave him a $1,000 unsecured bond.
So they gave him a $1,000 bond. Was just let out of jail on a $1,000 bond. We don't have to live like this, gentlemen. We don't. We don't have to live like this. This is crazy. This is insane that we put up with this shit. $1,000. This is way too low. It shouldn't be a bond. He went and he killed a kid driving around like a nutball when he shouldn't have even been driving. He should be lucky he's not getting harvested for his organs. That's what I think. It's outrageous. Why are we putting up with this? I'm waiting for someone to defend this. Yeah, there's nobody. And it's insane. Minimum 250K? Yeah. I mean, really, like, I don't understand this at all. They found another clip of that viral judge, Insane Ego. Which one? Oh, my God. Wait a minute. This that same loser?
Okay. Those are the overlapping stories.
This is the same guy that crashed out on the IT worker.
Between the stores outlined.
You're wasting my time this morning.
No, Judge. I mean, we have an overlapping issue in these two cases.
They don't seem to be that overlapping to me.
Well, we have the same
You
parties.
want to go to Jefferson County because you want a Jefferson County jury.
Oh, I mean, Judge, we're the defendants in the case.
No.
We're
Okay.
they're the plaintiffs. We haven't filed either one of these cases. They filed this case
Lien
first.
abatement is denied.
Thank you, Your Honor.
We filed a proposed order, but I have one here if you want.
Take it.
Jeff, you would briefly respond
You
about.
may not.
Well,
This hearing is done.
she's asking for a sanction.
Deputy, remove her from my bench now.
Your Honor, may I speak?
No, you may not. This hearing is over. Jesus Christ, these people today. Step away. You're about.
I'm gonna be real. If you crash out like this as a judge, you can't control your emotions. If you can't control your emotions, you shouldn't be able to control other people's fate. It's embarrassing. Like, it really, like, I honestly appeal to a different judge. And so I'll go and I'll show you. Here's another one. Here's another one of this happening. Here we go. Let's watch it.
I appreciate the legislature for passing this, but I will just say to my friends in the Florida House of Representatives, I don't think what you've done is enough. You have the power and you have sufficient numbers in your chamber to impeach this judge.
She released a child rapist while out on bail. He raped, tortured, and killed a 5-year-old little girl.
Tiffany Baker. Until you start holding these judges accountable, they are going to continue to find ways.
Disbarring them isn't enough. It's not enough. Simply losing their job and being dishonored is not enough. It's not even the bare minimum.
To benefit.
I like to question how many of these judges are being questioned only because they're releasing minorities or they are a minority themselves. A lot of these people pretend to speak about justice and who they believe should be in the position to be a judge, but they are judging these situations in accordance to race, and then they're trying to place these judges in positions of power only in accordance to what they are able to apply racially. Because even at Harvard standards, they discuss that if you put someone on bail or that person was deemed not guilty, what they do after is not your responsibility. You do not own them. They are not your property. They are not yours to dictate their entire life off of. The discussion of whether or not that person can be released after those crimes alleged toward them is up to legislators. It is up to the law. They enforce the law through judging it, because the judge cannot just change the law. They would have to go and fight against multiple judges once that case law is brought up to be appealed in court, which will happen almost immediately. In which case they are not doing that, because this is just the law. She is enforcing the law. If it is case law, they wouldn't judge her, they would judge the other people of case law that it was applied under, in which case it was probably a white man, because they are not equally applied here. If you constantly use what a person does while they are on bail to persecute a judge, I promise you it is a lynch mob, it is a witch hunt, and it is white supremacy trying to get rid of some political adversary in order to push their agenda. Because we already have a justice system with checks and balances for this exact moment here. That of which some greasy man drinking out of a styrofoam cup doesn't dictate the future of our society. Our democracy does. Our legislators do. Our executive branch is an example as to why we have the legislative and the judiciary, because he is one of the most unaccountable examples of having a king in charge, or a ruler, because they were never supposed to be in charge. They are supposed to be there for emergencies. A presidency was never supposed to be taken as this serious of a situation, but they are enacting their rule as if it was the few who are in charge, dictating what everyone else has to do in this country. And now they have their soldiers pushing persecution against people of color, getting rid of judges that are minorities, getting rid of women that are people that are no longer respected because they are never respected under the white supremacist fascistic patriarchy.
Fit the criminal element. This was an outrage. This was such an easy call to make sure that this guy was put behind bars.
Yeah.
And this judge refused to do it, knowing the risks.
That's
and the
right.
result has obviously been a tragedy. So, Florida Constitution.
We need to go Old Testament with these people. We do. We got to Old Testament these people. Like, they got to go and, like, bring in the military and just simply arrest them. Like, this is crazy. Like, you have them there literally letting out child molesters. Like, the entire idea, like, because the problem is that people think that you shouldn't do that because, oh, well, that's breaking the rules. They're breaking the rules. How the fuck are you supposed to deal with this with people that are controlling the rules that don't use them? How do you deal with this? How do you can't deal with that? Like, there's no way you can get around this. It's an abuse of power. It is.
Invests the House of Representatives with the ability to bring.
What's the alternative? Because if they're liable, they won't release anyone else, not even good people. Do you really think that there's no gray area between releasing a child molester and releasing somebody who's a shoplifter from 7-Eleven? Do you really think that there's no nuance there? Like, really?
Impeachment.
Hilarious, he just said there's no nuance. Meanwhile, earlier he said stealing in Japan a wallet. He compared that to terrorism in America when a Mexican and a Chinese person have a baby in America. And then that baby becomes a terrorist. That's the discussion point this man has here. That's his intelligence he's showing. Because he will make the comparisons and then turn around and say that's, whoa, let's not do all of that. Let's be logical. Let's be reasonable. He's a deceiver. He's a liar. He's a propagandist for white supremacy.
Against a circuit judge, with 2/3 majority. You know, last time I checked, we've got way more than 2/3 of Republicans.
We need light Yagami on these people. I told y'all, like, it is a mercy to the world that, because Death Note came out in 2006. I was 16 in 2006. If I had watched Death Note when I was in high school, I know you might have thought it would be impossible for this to be the case, but I can guarantee you that I would somehow be even more insufferable than I was then. I would have been even worse. Because even now, I watched Death Note. I agreed with everything Light did. I did. I completely agree. He's totally right.
I think some Democrats would vote to impeach, given what happened in this case.
So, like, if it was back then, oh my God, yeah. And wow, really? Of course. I love Light, yeah, 100%. Like, this whole bullshit, like, oh, well, you know, he doesn't have a right to do that. Oh, you know, if he does it, it happened. And so we have even one more. Look at this. Disgraced Minnesota judge just gave a 6-month sentence to another Somali fraudster who stole millions.
Ms. Jama, do you have any comment?
Judge Nancy Brazel said that Zamzam Jama was one of the least culpable.
Zamzam, what is this? Like, that's like something like a convenience store.
Said that Zamzam Jama was one of the least culpable defendants, and she doesn't think that she'll see Jama back in federal court for another crime.
Ms. Jama.
That's crazy. Wow. And yeah, from Star Wars. Yeah, it's from Star Wars or something like that. And judges are bought and paid for. Well, I think that what happens is that it does look like an AI version of her. So the judges, I think, in some cases are kind of, they're doing it for a political reason, and like they're being paid. I don't think most of them are being paid. I think that they just simply do it because they think it's the right thing to do. And John Roberts said, it's a new world, but it's the same Constitution. Then why do you think that they let you do amendments for it? Like, this is really? Are you kidding me? Response to John Sauer saying 6 billion people are a plane ride away from coming here. Holy fucking shit, dude. This is insane. Oh my God, it makes me so mad. Luigi crashed out on a health CEO for less than that. Health insurance CEO for less than that. Listen. Anyway, let me go back. Oh, look at this.
Okay, let's talk about its applications. So, there are some, I can imagine it being messy in some applications. So what would you do with what the common law called foundlings? The thing about this is then you have to adjudicate. If you're looking at parents, and if you're looking at parents' domicile, then you have to adjudicate both residence and intent to stay. What if you don't know who the parents are?
I think there are marginal cases. That one, I think.
I mean, you don't give them citizenship till you find out. Duh. Like, obviously, like, what the fuck do you mean? Like, I mean, it's like, oh yeah, oh well, what if you don't know? Okay, well then say to be determined. Fucking duh. Like, obviously.
It has the benefit of being addressed in 1401F, where it talks about.
Yeah. But what about the Constitution?
Under the Constitution, I mean, look, domicile is a constitutional standard in all kinds of other situations.
Well, and it's hard.
Diversity jurisdiction, personal jurisdiction, sorry.
Well, yeah, and personal jurisdiction, 1332, diversity jurisdiction. And the thing is, it has to be litigated because it turns on intent. And both...
If their intent was to come into this country illegally, they shouldn't be rewarded by their kid being a fucking citizen. If their intent is to come here to have a kid, to default the kid's citizenship, then that is a bad, malicious intent, and it should not be rewarded. These people are so consumed with the idea of processes that they've lost any sense of ethical accountability. They've lost every sense of rational conclusion drawing. This is insane. I'm so mad. I'm actually so mad about this.
The virtue of both jus soli and jus sanguinis, whichever one you pick, it's a bright line rule. How would it work? How would you adjudicate these cases? You're not going to know at the time of birth for some people whether they have the intent to stay or not,
It
including.
doesn't matter if they have the intent to stay, you fucking retard. No, there's no the intent to stay. Like, are they citizens or not? They're not citizens, and they shouldn't have a kid here that's a fucking citizen. Like, are you retarded? It's unbelievable. Oh my God. How is this even a question? Oh, what their intent is. Holy fuck. Like, what? This bureaucracy is so fucking annoying. It drives me crazy. Oh my God.
It drives him crazy in this society because he's not one of the people that sees a human being as a human. Now, if you ran into see an actual human being's perspective, you would see a white man crashing out because he can't just kill black and brown people and kick them out whenever he wants. He saw the number of billions of people are one plane ride away from coming here without realizing that was the entire human population because he's an imbecile. He is a complete imbecile. He is angry that human beings from the 1800s understood the basics of law and order and the basics of human rights during times of slavery better than he sees it even now. Because his perception is that everyone's going to be a good person and nobody's going to do ever any bad ever again. He is a naive fool because he wants to see the criminality as something that these people are allowing in through criminal justice, allowing terrorism. He just did a small coverage about people hitting people with their bikes and it's saying they should be harvested for their organs as a joke, but then pushed the agenda of him being in jail. Never would have allowed this to happen by following it up with a story that a man was let out and raped and killed a child on sexual assault charges on a child. And therefore, that's a judge's fault again, which is a black woman. Then he's coming here to say we need to get rid of black and brown people because the agenda of which he's pushing is, again, the hate-filled agenda of why are black and brown people seen as anything more than something to control. Because you wouldn't stop a white man to ask if he's here. If you did, you'd have protests, which we do have protests because of all the dead in ICE custody and all the dead killed by ICE and the execution system that is built here, upon which he was proud of, which now all of them are being persecuted, but he hides inside his house because he's agoraphobic, and which means he's scared to leave. He is terrified and probably disabled. That he uses that same disability to put him in a position of out of touch with reality, which is going to appeal to a lot of people who are busy working all day, who never have time to really talk or go out or hang out with people, to see a human being for what they are, and that is a human. Because if they gave these talking points out loud in a person of color neighborhood, they would be spoken to with respect and dignity, and then the ones that won't are the ones who are sick and tired of hearing that every day of their life, being called a second-class citizen and a lesser. He is someone who pushes hatred in America. He's a white supremacist, and he pushes ableism to its maximum ability because he wants to devalue everyone that he sees as lesser, which of course is going to be the disabled first, like the Nazis did. Then it's going to come for the black and brown and gay, and then he's going to push for the white Anglo-Saxon or the Aryan race, that is which is not obeying because his order was always to make sure they obeyed no matter what. Because you're nothing but a slave to these men. You're nothing but a person that has to obey to these men. You're nothing but something to kill and throw away to these men. They are profiting off of brutality. They profit off the hatred. They see a person of color and they see a way to make money. He made an hour and a half video about talking bad about black and brown people, and he's gonna pocket thousands of dollars and then eventually millions in profit. This man makes money off hate. He preaches hate and he will continue to make money off hate because the white man continues to platform him, because I'm here to push him down, and this is not oppression. This is the voice of the unheard. This is the voice of the people he put into those camps. This is the voice of the people who never had the time to fight back. This is the voice of the people that are sick and tired of their relationships being attacked because they're interrace, like a Latino and an Asian woman that he's gonna push now are giving birth to terrorists across America.
Fuck.
Including U.S. citizens, by the way. I mean, what if you have someone who is living in Norway with, their husband and family, but is still a U.S. citizen, comes home and has her child here and goes back?
Well, then the kid would be a citizen because she's a citizen. Like, what? Well, okay, so you have a shoplifting law, but what if somebody... Okay, get this. Okay, but what if somebody buys something, but then they forget to take their bag out of the store? And then they come back in and they say, I forgot to get my bag that I paid for. And then they take it out. Are they shoplifting? You're missing the point? Okay. All right. You're going to get pulled up. You're going to get pulled up. What's the point? Because I want to hear arguments for this. Because everything that I've heard about this is so retarded that it's astonishing that it even exists. Holy fuck. What's the point? Zach's extra edgy today? I am. I'm so mad. I've been waiting on this for my whole life, and they're messing it up. Drives me crazy. She's just posing multiple angles to the argument to see the answers? Well, I mean, the answer is obvious, right? I mean, if somebody's a U.S. citizen that has a kid in America, but they're also in Norway, the kid would obviously be a U.S. citizen. Like, there's not even a question about that. Like, how's that even a question? It's obvious. Everybody knows that. Duh. Of course.
How do we know whether the child is a U.S. citizen because the parent didn't have an intent to stay?
I'd say, Nick,
the intent to stay is
2 points, one practical, one legal. The practical point is under the terms of this executive order, you don't have to because the executive order turns on objectively verifiable things, which is immigration status. Are you lawfully present but temporarily present, or do you have an illegal status? So those kind of like, taking evidence, so to speak, under subjective intent wouldn't be done. And as to the constitutional point, obviously domicile is baked into a lot of constitutional and legal concepts, and there may be situations where facts are determined, but if you look at the guidance.
Oh, God, bro, what are you doing, bro? Was RFK not enough? Now you have to bring in 2 people with 5% HP? Number 1. Number 2, what the fuck are we talking about? What are we doing?
The guidance that all the agencies did after this court in Casa said the agency could go forward to issue guidance. The guidance provides, I think, very, very clear, objective.
Why is intent to stay a stupid argument? If they aren't staying in the USA, they shouldn't get citizenship? No. Because even if they want to stay in the United States, they shouldn't get citizenship if they're not citizens. Duh. So so you're telling me that because 2 illegals come here and they say, I want to stay here. No shit you want to stay here. You came from Guatemala. I would too if I were you. I get it. So, yes, obviously that's the case. It doesn't matter.
Verifiable approaches to doing this. And so as a practical matter, I don't think it's presented by this executive order.
Thank you, General.
Justice Jackson?
Holy fuck, man. Holy fuck, this is insane. And they don't get to skip the immigration line just because you had a kid? Yeah, exactly. What if it's a U.S. citizen and illegal? Then it's a U.S. citizen. If one of the parents is a U.S. citizen, then the kid should be a U.S. citizen. If both of the parents are U.S. citizens, then the kid should be a U.S. citizen. If neither of the parents are U.S. citizens, then the kid should not be a citizen. It's obvious. Yeah, of course. Like, that's fair. Yeah, obviously. Oh, my God. And let me go. I'll see if I find this here. And where is it? Oh, no, I already saw this before. That was so retarded. It's unbelievable. Okay, let's listen to this.
Based on Chinese media reports, there are 500 birth tourism companies in the People's Republic of China whose business is to bring people here to give birth and return to that nation.
Imagine thinking it's a good idea that you have a system that has spawned an entire Chinese industry of people that are flying to your country in bad faith to spawn their kids with citizenship.
Again, he's going after the Asians. He's going after China because he's anti-China clearly by how he's angry Chinese children are coming here. He's calling them spawning in. He sees Asian couples as, God forbid, the worst thing that has ever happened to America. For some reason, this man is obsessed with Asian people. He's very anti-China. For some reason. We are going to see exactly what this is because he's again pushing this against all races that are non-white, non-Anglo-Saxon, which of course is his agenda with his earlier statement saying if you're a certain type of American, you're a true American, because he is doing some dumb math, which he clearly did not get qualified to pass in terms of citizenship, because it's all counter to the 14th Amendment and counter to what it would mean to be a true American in this country. This man has also admitted to stealing and being taught how to steal from stores by his father. For an example of who we are talking about, this man, under his own discussion, should be deported. This white Anglo-Saxon should go back to Europe where he comes from, which he would then say is still better than most places because his racism would be so profound. He thinks he would be accepted in a place of which would probably outcast him again and force him into his room to make the same exact react racist videos where he's pushing the same racist agenda that a lot of countries got rid of a long time ago.
Like it's obviously there's something wrong with that. Obviously there's something wrong. Like, how can anybody not see there's something wrong with that?
Having said all that, you do agree that that has no impact on the legal analysis before us?
I don't give a fuck about that. Why the fuck would I care about that? Why the fuck? So let me get this straight. Because you can misinterpret something that was written 150 years ago, that means that we're not allowed to have a country. Get the fuck out of here. This is such a ridiculous argument. It's insane. I am so fucking sick of this bureaucratic, completely sterile, brain-dead, disconnected, pseudo-intellectual bullshit that these people keep trying to push when the reality is it's happening. It's actually happening in real life right now. I don't care about what your ideological reasoning is for this, or what, this is what a book said that was written 80 years ago. It's outdated. It's gone. Like, everybody that was around then is dead. It's a completely different world. Most politicians are retards, man. Most people are retards. That's it. Makes me so fucking mad, man. Makes me so fucking mad. Oh, well, just because there's an obvious exploit, and the fact that this obvious exploit exists, like, does it oh my God, bro, like, it's actually crazy how mad I am. It's crazy how mad I am. All right.
I think it's, I quote what Justice Scalia said in his Hamdan dissent, where their interpretation has these implications that could not possibly have been approved by the 19th century framers of this amendment. I think that shows that they've made a mess. Their interpretation has made a mess of the provision.
Well, it certainly wasn't
you fucked up.
Problem in the 19th century.
Yeah, it wasn't a problem. Oh, wow. Well, wait a minute. It wasn't a problem in the 19th century. Thank God. Yeah, probably back then he was in college. That old fucking, another old geriatric retard is going to dictate to us why the fuck, oh, wait a minute. Well, if you look at what happened in 1885, that means you're not allowed to have a country anymore. Holy shit.
This man keeps going back to the 1800s like it's the biggest talking point he's ever had in his life. A time zone, a time frame does not dictate justice. What dictates justice is what is dictated by democracy, the legislators, and what we understand through the judges and the application of these laws, because this stupid, ignorant white man, this Anglo-Saxon who thinks he understands what society is about, and is pushing the most ignorance I've ever seen, which is his right in accordance to First Amendment, another amendment that a lot of people are going to eventually get rid of because of ignorant men like him just pushing this agenda. I promise you his talking point of saying it came from old time, therefore old, therefore bad, is not going to sit well in court with any other law. We still have slavery, for fuck's sake. And this guy's worried about whether or not you're an American at all, or whether you're recognized as a human being worthy of human rights or human civil rights at that. I could play the rest of this video and I promise you it's just him complaining about the same thing, saying 1800, 1800, 1800. He is not a smart man. He's a fascist. Remember that.
Oh my God.
The provision.
Well, it certainly wasn't a problem in the 19th century.
No, but of course.
Neither were fucking computers.
we're in a new world now, as Justice Alito pointed out.
We're in a new world, yes.
Where 8 billion people are one plane ride away from having a child who's a U.S. citizen.
Well, it's a new world. It's the same Constitution.
It is, and
this stupid old man is ruining our country. It's amazing. It's the same Constitution. Number one, that's like foundationally, definitionally, that's wrong. The Constitution is constantly reinterpreted. If you didn't need reinterpretations of the Constitution, why the fuck do we have the Supreme Court? Number one. Number two, the Constitution was written for amendments. You've got to remember the 14th Amendment wasn't written until everybody that wrote the Constitution was dead when the 14th Amendment was written. It was 100 years after the Constitution was written. I can't believe this. I'm so fucking mad.
As Justice Scalia said, I think in the case that Justice Alito was referring to, you've got a constitutional provision that addresses certain evils, and it should be extended to reasonably comparable evils. He said that about statutory interpretation. I think the same principle applies here, and I think we quote that in our brief.
Thank you. Justice Thomas, anything further?
Unbelievable to me. Absolutely fucking unbelievable that anybody is putting up with this. Okay, here's another one. All right.
Not subject to any foreign power.
Oh, we saw this one. Never mind. I already saw that before. Let me go back and see if I can find any more of these two. But yeah, I am extremely opinionated about this. I am very, very upset about this. The Constitution says that a woman didn't have rights when the Constitution was written. It didn't have women in it. Should we get rid of women's rights? Yeah, exactly. Like, the idea that because the Constitution says this means that it's a good thing and this is what the rules should be is insane. And also, you can just reinterpret it in a different way. I mean, obviously. Am I wrong that the amendments expand the subject and doesn't narrow them? Well, I don't know what you mean by that. Depends on what you mean by expanding and what does that mean. Second Amendment says stay the same even though the guns keep changing. Listen, like, here's the thing is that there's obviously a very big difference between somebody being able to, buy a fucking aircraft carrier versus being able to have a gun for home defense, right? I mean, everybody can see and understand that. But this is, again, what I was saying about the deliberate misunderstandings, the deliberate, intentional, repeated misunderstandings. And, oh, here we go. Let's take a look at this.
Let's start here with some examples of some of the types of individuals we could be talking about, like Juan Carlos Valencia Gonzalez. Now, Juan Carlos Valencia Gonzalez was born in Santa Ana, California in 1984. His parents were from Mexico. He happens to also be the stepson of El Mencho, the leader of the Jalisco New Generation cartel. And now he is reportedly leading that very same cartel. And here's the thing.
Not good.
He is a United States citizen by birth. And it doesn't stop there. Reports of foreign wealth being used to manipulate the system. One Chinese billionaire reportedly has more than 100 U.S.-born children through surrogacy. The idea, build a future family and a business succession plan. Some clients, by the way.
How do you not see this and think it's an exploit? How do you not see? Really? Like, what the fuck are we doing? Can you believe this? It sounds like an exploit. Like, look at this. It's insane.
Request up to 100 babies via multiple surrogacies. It can cost as much as $200,000. And why would they do that? Because babies born here are automatically U.S. citizens.
That's right.
Also,
if I was Chinese, I'd do it. I'd do it. Like, if I was Chinese and, like, my wife was going to have a kid and I could fly her to America and then have the kid in America, I'd do it. It's a good idea. It's a great idea. ABC, right? Yep, ABC. Always be cheating. It's a phenomenal idea. Who wouldn't?
Surrogacy is illegal in China. Nearly 41% of international surrogate parents in the United States are Chinese.
Another coincidence, I'm sure. To be fair, the El Mencho stepson is American. Well, look, if his parents are American, like, I mean, again, we have plenty of criminals here. Like, I think that argument is weak too, by the way, I do. I think if his parents were American citizens, then, you know, him being like, look, I mean, yeah, he's the guy's son or whatever. Like, that's what happens. Like, just because your dad's an asshole doesn't mean it's your fault.
So why is this such a debate? Look around the world.
It's a debate because they want to overrun the country with foreigners and then replace people and then vote for racial solidarity. That's the reason why it's a debate. That's the reason why they're doing it. That's why they're pushing it.
Much of Europe has restricted birthright citizenship. Asia basically ended it. The United States, still one of the...
wait a minute. China, it's restricted, but over here it's not? Those motherfuckers. So those fuckers come over here and they do this to us, but we can't do that over there.
What he's just complaining about right there is the difference between communism and capitalism, where in America you can exploit anyone you want in desperate situations and create as many surrogates as you wish, because that is your right as someone who has money. It's illegal in China because they have to maintain the populace through a mathematical perfection where every single person is supported, so the homeless population doesn't exist because they're all being reformed and fixed into a working class citizen, given education, and put into a position of profit for the country and serving the government. This is why communism is one that works continuously, because it is an effective and functional system that mathematically determines humans as worth protecting. This is why they're non-interventionalists, because they don't want to kill people or have their people killed, when they have a mathematical perfected formula that is there that tells them how many people they can feed, how many people they give education and housing and healthcare to. You can't do that in China, not because it's smart, because in America we should do that as well, but because China has safety measures and social justice in order to help the people that are being birthed there. Here in America, if you limit it, you would exterminate the entire human race here, and we would all die and wither away without a select few billionaires, which he would say that's fine, that's acceptable, because he's rich and now he gets to pay a bunch of poor people who can't afford to pick anyone else because they're all killed off, and now they have to pick some greasy white guy, and we've devolved ourselves behind even the founding fathers, which the founding fathers would have shot him dead for treason a long time ago, Asmongold specifically, because he would be against the amendments, would make him a traitor to the country and a traitor to the people.
Yeah, you know why? Maybe because they realized it was a problem. That's crazy.
Few countries around the world that sits as an outlier.
Yep. So South Africa, Sweden, Finland, the UK, Ireland, Belgium, Germany, Spain, Australia. Oh my God. Makes me so fucking mad for me to see this, man. It really does. And I don't even know what to say. It's just so outrageous, ridiculous, unfair. And look at this here. Illegal immigrant who attacks someone in Japan gets deported. I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. Immigration officer, it doesn't matter. We're taking you. You're lucky we even have a plane. We're taking you no matter what. Man. Man. This is how it should be done? You're goddamn right. It's how it definitely is how it should be done. Just send it back on a raft? Yeah. Do you agree if the Supreme Court can't recognize surrogate birthright citizenship being an exploit, it shouldn't be? Yeah. I think that if the Supreme Court is not able to, because the Supreme Court, like fundamentally, every piece of government should be working in the best interest of American citizens. Like, and this is downstream from the Constitution, it's downstream from legal precedent, it's downstream from taxes, it's downstream from everything. On a very, very fundamental level, every piece of the government should be working in the best interest of the American citizen. Is that in the best interest of the American citizen? Obviously not. Obviously, it is not. So no, I don't think they should listen to it. Absolutely not. into coalitions of tribes conspired to deport each other. Well, they're already literally. How does this benefit us? Yeah, it doesn't. Like, there's no benefit to the American. There is no benefit to the American citizen and the American family that a Chinese billionaire or anybody from South America can basically maliciously break into our country, have a kid, and default that kid's citizenship, and then that kid has a bunch of privileges. The justices are not taking the survival of the nation seriously. I just hope that Trump is. And after watching a majority of justices cast doubt on the constitutionality of his bid to end birthright citizenship for 90 minutes, Trump has left the Supreme Court. He posted, what did he say? He posted on Truth Social afterwards, we are the only country in the world to allow, stupid enough to allow birthright citizenship. Well, the thing is, just Andrew Jackson them. That's what I think he should do. I do. I think you should just openly ignore the Supreme Court. If they're not going to uphold this and they're going to say that it's more important for us to give birthright citizenship to illegal aliens, that is insane to me. Absolutely fucking crazy. And I hope somebody actually does something about that. He's mad. I'm very, I think anybody should be mad about this, honestly. I think they should be. And, yeah. And Biden ignored them, so why shouldn't Trump? I mean, I don't know what Biden did at all. It doesn't matter what Biden did. Like, I'd say do this anyway. It doesn't, I have no, like, that means nothing to me. What somebody else did is totally irrelevant. The fact is that, like, if you have these people that are saying that, well, because of this rule, that means that we're not able to do anything about it. I mean, I don't know what you can even say. And anyway, let me go out. I will look at there's a video about this. We'll watch it. Can you expand on Andrew Jackson for the non-Americans here? So Andrew Jackson historically ignored the Supreme Court and said that, well, they don't have the military, so they can't tell me what to do. And I think that's what Trump should do. I think that we have allowed basically a bureaucratic takeover of the country.
His perception of bureaucracy is having any laws at all stopping the presidency from just exterminating anyone they see as unfit. He does not believe in democracy because democracy gave rights to women and people of color. He does not see it as something that is slowing down fascism. He sees it as something that is slowing down progress because he believes in an ethno-state of white only in order to exterminate the Asians who disobey America, who exterminate the Latinos, exterminate the black men, and if anyone questions them, they should be thrown in jail or their guts harvested for the jokes and now. But if there were no measures to stop these men, that would be happening in actuality because it happened with the Jakarta method. It happened with the attacks in Latin America. It happened with the arrest of people of color continuously during the civil rights protests, and now even today with the BLM protests where a lot of people were racially discriminated against, but none of them were protested against because we were too busy trying to save our people and our own kind from a lynch mobbing of these white men conducting a continuous constant rate of hatred.
Allowed a massive takeover of the country by these people, and you have people that have taken their positions inside of the judicial branch, and what they've done is that they effectively don't uphold the law. They don't enforce the law. They don't hold people accountable. They don't do what they should be doing, and I think the reason why is because they're doing it off of ideological grounds. They're taking their position, they're weaponizing their position for an ideological reason, and they're effectively misrepresenting the rules. So really, I mean, that's what I think the main problem is. Is this the same Andrew Jackson responsible for the Trail of Tears? Yes, that would be him. Correct. And anyway, so the recruitment numbers show he has the military support. Yeah, absolutely. And an American journalist got kidnapped in Iraq by the Islamic regime. Well, yeah, I mean, that's what happens. You go to Iraq. I mean, it's fucking Iraq, man. What do you expect? So you think Trump appointed Supreme Court justices acting on ideological reasons to make this decision? Well, if he did, he didn't do a very good job, did he? So I wish he had. And birthright citizenship is just a scam out of the systems. How the fuck is this even an issue? Don't we have majority conservatives in the Supreme Court? Well, some of them care more about doing what they think is the rules rather than doing what they think is right. And I think that's the main issue, is that they're more focused around a bureaucratic procedure rather than the actual best interest of the country. And that's the main problem that I have.
To our other top story, in just a few hours, President Trump literally, physically headed to the Supreme Court, where oral arguments will be held over his push to end birthright citizenship for children of illegal migrants and temporary visitors to the U.S.
You're going to go to the Supreme Court tomorrow.
I do believe.
And just sit there and listen.
Because I have listened to this argument for so long.
Yep.
And this is not about Chinese billionaires or billionaires from other countries who all of a sudden have 75 children or 59 children in one case or 10 children becoming American citizens.
Joining me now, constitutional law attorney Mark Smith. And Mark, obviously, I want to focus on the law throughout the segment, but we have to talk about this. What do you make of President Trump being the first president, based upon all of our research, to ever attend an argument at the Supreme Court?
Yeah. That's a lot.
It's a great idea. Look, he is the party, and if you're a party, you're totally entitled to go to court and observe the proceedings. So I think President Trump should attend today. He is the party here. He is the one that created this lawsuit, and thank God he did. It was his executive order that finally got this issue of birthright citizenship before the court, because as you know, Todd, the reality was up until now there was nobody had standing to challenge this absurdity of basically anyone that comes to the United States and has a kid, they become an automatic American citizen. You could not challenge that because no one had standing to do so until President Trump wisely did this executive order. So he should attend this argument because he's the one that caused it.
Let's drill down into
I think this has been going on for as long as I've been alive. I mean, as soon as I realized that you could do this, I was like, well, what the fuck? This seems like it's totally unfair.
Law. This case is challenging a long-held interpretation of the 14th Amendment, with Section 1 of the amendment reading, quote, all persons born or naturalized in the United States, and this is the key part right here, and subject to the jurisdiction thereof, are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. How should the court ultimately rule on that question? We had it underlined on the screen, jurisdiction thereof.
Well, the phrase subject to the jurisdiction thereof is a clear historical meaning. Remember, after the Civil War, the whole goal was to make sure slaves and their children were made American citizens.
Exactly.
It was originally done by a congressional statute, Todd, the Civil Rights Act of 1866, but there was concerns that a statute would not be sufficient to last the rest of the country's history. So the decision was made to create the 14th Amendment. And the reason why that's significant is when you read the Civil Rights Act of 1866, it literally says to be an American citizen, you have to be born in the United States and also not subject to any foreign power. That language was essentially elevated into the Constitution in the form of the 14th Amendment. So today, if you're simply visiting the United States, if you sneak into the country as
then you're subject to foreign power because you're from another country.
Alien and have a child, you are still subject to a foreign power, meaning your home country. So therefore, under the 14th Amendment, you're not subject to the jurisdiction thereof, and you haven't met the criteria to be a citizen. And that's a pretty straightforward argument. But of course, there's a vested interest on the other side to say that anyone born in the United States is an American citizen. And the only reason why that interpretation has lasted as long as it has is because, as you know, there's been no ability to challenge this in court because the only people withstanding are people that benefited from this wrong interpretation of the law.
Exactly. The reason why it's been allowed to continue is because people benefit from it. That's exactly it. It's crazy that we've allowed this to happen for as long as it has.
Everyone else had no standing until this executive order by President Trump.
I'm going to push back slightly. You said it's the other side, Democrats specifically, and you're 100% right on that. But I would also argue Republicans have not been as enthusiastic, let's say, as
the Republicans are. I mean, honestly, we might as well just get cosplayers. Why don't we just hire some Instagram girls to be the Republicans in the Senate and Congress? Because I think they do a better job. Like, these people have they have these pretend principles, but their principles are defined by the optics that are created by their enemies. It's pathetic. It's so pathetic.
You are that this is going to be a win for their side.
No, I hate
the prevailing wisdom, as you well know, is that this court is going to keep birthright citizenship in place. So, with that as the baseline, what questions do you expect these justices to ask at oral arguments today? Who are you paying attention to? And ultimately, what does your gut tell you as to how
Republicans do nothing when they have power? They sit on their asses. Can you imagine what it would have been like if after Donald Trump took office, he actually did things? Like, because you remember that first 2 weeks was crazy. Like, he got...
This is a white man angry at other white men. This is the best part about this country. When they start turning on one another. They say they're not doing enough racism. They said they're not doing enough hatred. And they're all being held back by the civil rights. This is my favorite part about America because they get angry that they can't just go all out fascism, which is just straight Nazi Auschwitz camps with clouds of dead migrants being thrown up into the air through ashes. This is the best part about this country. Is about the bureaucracy they're so angry about is the only thing keeping the majority of us alive. And their anger and frustration with other white men who are technically way more qualified than this angry Dr. Pepper drinker here with covered in cockroaches, way better in every way, which is why they oftentimes get in arguments. And a lot of the times you see Republicans capitulate to the Democrat Party because they realize their voter base is filled with a bunch of simplistic, extremely caveman minded people. And they have to acknowledge that every time they turn to them to ask for their opinions and they realize they don't respect white men anymore. So it's something a lot of Republicans have to keep in mind too.
Rid of all the DEI. He shut down USAID. They were going through everybody's stuff. Like, can you imagine that? That would have been crazy. Like, he did all right, but man, bro, I think he's fallen off. Like, he's been so focused on these international issues.
Will rule when they rule in a few months.
Well, this court is very much an originalist court. And what that means, as you know, Todd, as an attorney yourself, is you look at the text of the relevant law, this is the 14th Amendment, and you look at the surrounding history. Keep in mind there is...
I'm sure, yeah, and this is what's so crazy to me. Do you really think that Thomas Jefferson would see, if you could teleport Thomas Jefferson to America today, or George Washington, or Alexander Hamilton, or anybody else in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, if you could teleport any of them and have them watch a Chinese billionaire have 100 kids here and default those kids citizenship, and then have 1 million fucking South Americans, not 1 million, millions of South Americans coming across the border, having kids.
So he's mad about Chinese rich men for taking advantage of capitalism, so he should be mad at capitalism, but instead he's blaming the Chinese. He's mad at, again, he changed it to now millions of Latinos, of people that are now poor, which now I promise you he's going to push terrorism, hatred, and his continual white supremacy, which, let's just see if I can predict the future here.
The kids can be fucking citizens here and get benefits and then vote based off of that. Do you really think that they'd be like, oh yeah, that sounds great? Oh yeah. Yeah, that's exactly, yeah, that's what we were, yeah, this is what we were hoping for.
They were actually hoping for Native Americans to integrate, and they were actually hoping for a bunch of Asians too as well, since they were working the railroad. A lot of these people actually were already in the mindset of getting migrants to do the work, because white men came here to continue the labor of which they did not have to do in other countries, which is the opportunity to have their own slaves. But those slaves wanted rights, and they came with noble people. So yeah, those noble people were always acknowledged. Those rich people in China were always acknowledged. They came here to bring some of those migrants. And the Native Americans oftentimes had people who capitulated to a lot of the trade deals of which America had, which led to the reserves, but also to the allegiances that happened in Latin America and America, because a lot of those people went back home, but a lot of them stayed and they got citizenship. So yes, they already in their head knew they would have to give these people citizenship, because without it, they would be seen as extremely bigoted even for the slave days.
Of course not. Obviously not.
Already a group of people that were born in the United States at the time of the 14th Amendment, but were not made citizens because they were subject to a foreign power. And that was the Native American population. The Native American population was born in the United States in the late 19th century at the time of the 14th Amendment, but they were not American citizens. Why? Because they were subject to a foreign power in the form of their tribes. So there's clear historical evidence here in addition to the text as to what it means. And again, because this is an originalist court that focuses on the text and the history at the time a law was enacted, that's where they're going to be focusing on.
The entire framing of this problem is completely wrong. The framing that should matter should be, is this good for the country? And if it's not, and the amendment allows that, then you should reevaluate the way that it's interpreted. Like, you can interpret something in 50 different ways.
What was the understanding of
obviously
Congress
not.
and the people that ratified the 14th Amendment in the year of our Lord, 1868?
I am not a Supreme Court justice
1868.
Yet, but I think your argument really did sell me.
Yeah, I really wonder whether the people in 1868 wanted a bunch of Mexicans and Chinese to come over to America and spawn in infinity anchor babies. Yeah, I really wonder if that's what they were waiting for. Oh, geez, guys, it's a fucking mystery.
Yeah, but
Yes. Yes, they were actually hoping that. Because there was a war between Mexico and America. Yes, they were hoping for the integration. They even mentioned they didn't have enough resources to take over all Latin America because it's better just to accept the people that were already here. Yes, they were expecting immigration. It was called Land of the Immigrants. Yes, they were ready to accept people who were born here to be American because they had English, the French, the Irish, the Asian Chinese, they had the Native Americans, they had the Indians they thought they arrived to. They had a bunch of people from the Middle East too. They came here as well. There tons of people came here. It was land that was free for everyone to take, which was why it was called the greatest robbery in human history when they stole from Native Americans. Because they handed it out and Native Americans welcomed them in at first, and you can see that at the beginning colonization they actually allowed everyone to come in because the original practice of immigration be allowed for everyone came from the Native American, which you can say they regret, which we do not, because we got relabeled as Latino and you're still mad we're here. So yes, they expected us to always be here. They expected us always to outnumber them. They expected us to continuously be in the land of which we come from, and therefore we are the ones giving permission. And yes, if everyone's allowed here, then we allow you all to be here. But if no one's allowed here, then we can start that war again and show you why they capitulated a long time ago, because we granted them peace by allowing immigration. That's why they're Americans when they're born here. It was to accept the original immigrant, which was the white man. Remember that. It was not something put there out of mercy. It was something put there through war. Remember that.
the people that are also had a major ruling yesterday. The state of Colorado cannot enforce its conversion therapy ban with Colorado people that live there because it violates the First Amendment. Specifically, how vital is this ruling? An 8-1 ruling. You got a couple of very, very liberal justices to buy in. How vital is this ruling to preserve free speech protections, which, as you well know, have been under attack so much in recent years? About 30 seconds to you, Mark.
Well, this is a very important ruling because Colorado basically said that therapists that do talk therapy are allowed to encourage someone to convert to a different gender, but they were not allowed to encourage someone to remain the gender that they currently were born into, let's say.
Wait, so they are allowed to encourage you to change your gender, but not to keep your gender?
This is a very big deal because if you allowed Colorado to define the ability to define what you're allowed to say, because you have a professional license of any sort, that would have eviscerated the First Amendment.
Sounds like
for
devil talk.
anyone, of course, that has some sort of professional license granted to the state. It would be a condition of getting that license to basically toe the politically correct line. And the Supreme Court says, no can do. We're not going to let that happen. That would violate
It's called
the
egg
First
cracking.
Amendment.
Yeah, I think it's so important.
Yeah, isn't it crazy that they've decided to they have a euphemism for grooming. It's called cracking the egg. It's crazy.
View this case not through the lens of conversion
well, we know who does
but
that.
really through the lens of what it means for the First Amendment. This is
I don't really care about this, to be honest. Let me go back. I'll see if there's any more of this. I'll watch one more of this. So I can't tell you that you're a boy, but let me tell you about chopping off your wang and folding it inside and go dress shopping. Yeah, that's exactly it. And I'll watch this too because it's just insane. World War II internment camps. Oh my fucking God, bro. Like, this is just, it drives me fucking crazy.
I'm sorry, Justice Barrett.
So I have a question about the exceptions again. So in your interchange with Justice Kavanaugh just now, you were talking about it as a closed set of exceptions. And said that way, it sounds like exceptions that people had in mind at the time of the ratification, but that were not explicit in the amendment. But I took your brief to be arguing that subject to the jurisdiction thereof is the language in the 14th Amendment that refers to those exceptions. Am I right?
That's right.
Okay.
It describes them.
It describes them. And would you say, this goes back to a question that Justice Gorsuch asked General Sauer, our relationship to the Indian tribes is different today than it was at the time that the 14th Amendment was ratified. Let's put aside Section 1401. Is a tribal Indian born on a reservation today, on tribal land, a natural-born citizen under the 14th Amendment?
Under the 14th Amendment, no. Of course, Congress has provided for citizenship for all tribal members in the...
This is it's another intentional misunderstanding. It's an intentional, like, it's got nothing to do with Indians. It's got nothing to do with Native Americans. This is not, it's not the point.
By statute. And so
this is semantics. It's all semantics.
As what's subject to the jurisdiction of meant when you say closed set of exceptions? It means that the jurisdiction as it existed at the time of the 14th Amendment is still the jurisdiction today? So let me just be a little bit clear. You know, Justice Kavanaugh asked you if we could create new categories by analogy. So there may be other sorts of people who were present here to whom this subject to the jurisdiction in the same way that we were talking about, you know, the bubbles around ambassadors or the...
Oh my God. This topic's killing me. I am losing my fucking mind having to listen to this bullshit. It makes me so mad having to listen to anything else about this. I am so insanely fucking upset about this. It is just fucking infuriating that there is this massive entire bureaucratic machine that's made to intentionally misunderstand, misinterpret, and do everything in a way that is like this weird bureaucratic abstraction of what reality is. It is insane. Is it an April Fool's today? It sure seems like it, I'll tell you that. And anyway, let me go back over. I'll look at this. Is skeptical because it would be messy? Okay, here's one more. I don't think we haven't seen this one yet, have we?
Okay, let's talk about its applications. So, you know, there are some, I can imagine it being messy in some applications. So what would you do with what the common law called foundlings? You know,
we already did see this. Never mind. I already saw it before. And let me go and see if there's any more of these that are worth looking at. And why no stream yesterday? So why I didn't stream yesterday? It's actually very simple. It's because I didn't really feel like it. That's the reason why. Yep, that's it. I didn't really feel like it. And I want to take the day off. I was tired.
Justice Kavanaugh?
General, how should we think about the text of the 14th Amendment, subject to the jurisdiction thereof, as distinct from the different language of the Civil Rights Act of 1866, which refers, as you know, to persons not subject to any foreign power?
Oh, bro, like, is this... Oh, man. Wait a second. Wait, oh, fuck, it's not the video. God damn it. Let me see if I can find the video for this. Go back up a little? Okay, relax, guys. And, yeah, let me see if I can find it. And, saw your video. It was good. Thank you. Yeah, and I did record a video, to be fair. And, you know, and watching Shuan Head today, I was going to. I just don't know necessarily when I'm going to. But, yeah, at some point I will. And I was playing Crimson Desert all day? No, there's no way I would do that. And let me go and see if I can find the rest of this here. And maybe this is it. And I can see if there's any more links to this. Because I do, as I said, I do care a lot about this. I find it to be extremely fucking frustrating for me to look at. But unfortunately, oh, here we go. All right, let's. This will be the last one, probably.
So I guess I am looking at your position in this case, and it boils down to requiring us to do at least these two things. One is believe that the framers were not importing the common law rule and understanding of birthright citizenship. And the second is to believe that what they were doing was departing from that common law rule in the way that you suggest. That is, they were seeking to have this turn on domicile. I think you have a number of hurdles to accomplish those two things. One of which, I think, is that when we look at this court's case law, and no one, I think, has mentioned Schooner's Exchange, but it appears that that was an 1812 case in which it seems as though the court had already accepted.
It's 50 years before the amendment.
At the time of the ratification of the 14th Amendment, that the allegiance that you were talking about was the English common law rule. That, in other words, allegiance meant that you are covered by the laws of the jurisdiction, that you can rely on that jurisdiction's protection. That's what allegiance meant. Now, you're saying today, no, allegiance meant something about loyalty or that kind of idea. But if the Supreme...
Under what reasoning do you think that, like, it's insane? This is the do American soldiers, like, I don't if you invade another country, do you have allegiance to them because you're in that country? No.
The Supreme Court had, prior to the 14th Amendment, established that allegiance meant the common law definition.
Drives me crazy.
I think your first hurdle is to help us understand why we would believe that when the 14th Amendment was ratified, the framers weren't just incorporating what we had previously said it meant.
Page 572 of the congressional record directly addresses this. They say the concept of temporary and local allegiance from the schooner exchange is what is meant by, or temporary and local jurisdiction from the schooner exchange is what is meant by the word jurisdiction in the 14th Amendment. Senator Trumbull says, I thought about saying owing allegiance, but again, quote, there's a sort of allegiance from persons temporarily resident in the United States whom we have no right to make citizens. So he expressly and consciously rejected reliance on schooner.
What do we do with, I mean, that's a debate, and it's a discussion, very valid, but then we have a subsequent debate between Fessenden and Wade, where the same concept comes up, and it becomes clear, at least from Senator Wade's perspective, that that's wrong. So Fessenden, and I'm not sure whether these are senators, I apologize. Fessenden says, suppose a person is born here of parents from abroad temporarily in this country. Wade responds, the senator says a person may be born here and not be a citizen. I know that is so in one instance, in the case of the children of foreign ministers who reside near the United States, et cetera, et cetera. So it appears as though in that exchange, at least Senator Wade believed that the English common law understanding of what it means to have allegiance, to be a temporary person on the soil.
Isn't it insane?
Was what was being adopted.
Yeah, that exchange strongly supports us. If you look at it in context, Senator Wade has introduced a version that says only birth on U.S. soil and doesn't have any allegiance or jurisdictional element to it. And so Senator Fessenden stands up and says, well, that can't be right because, you know, obviously, what about the children of temporary visitors? It has this, you know, it's another one of these statements that has this appeal to a background understanding that we all agree.
Yeah, if they're drawing a conclusion to that, it means that they're not. They obviously did not imply that every single person that was here, regardless of status, would have their kid be a citizen. I mean, very clearly, because if there wasn't a distinction that was implied, they wouldn't need to have made it in the first place.
The temporary visitors, their children do not become citizens. And then Senator Wade has to kind of backtrack and say, well, what are the children of ambassadors? And in the end, Congress does not adopt Senator Wade's proposal. So we think that to the extent you can draw an inference from that, the inference strongly supports.
All right, well, let me just ask you about why we wouldn't see in the 14th Amendment anything about parental allegiance. Several of my colleagues have talked about the fact that your view of this turns on what the status of the parents are.
Well, we don't have computers in the First Amendment.
And not the child, as would the born in the United States view of it. Can you help us understand why we wouldn't expect to see a mention of parents in the text of this amendment?
I think it was well understood that, for example, children cannot, newborns cannot form domicile, so it follows every 19th century.
That assumes domicile is in the test, and I'm asking you, how do we know that Congress did adopt the test that you say it adopted?
Yeah, when you're looking at 19th century conceptions of allegiance, the notion that the allegiance, again, we say domicile is instantiating the concept of allegiance for aliens as opposed to citizen. All of that, the 19th century understands the newborn's domicile, its allegiance follows the allegiance of the parents. And I point out that their theory relies on parental allegiance as well, because they recognize the exceptions for, hostile invading armies, for tribal Indians, for ambassadors. Again, the child's allegiance status, even on their view, turns on the status of the parent.
What do we do with Professor Mueller's amicus brief and the historical record and the fact that even at times in this country where we understood that the parents were declared enemies of the United States. I'm talking about World War II and Japanese internment. Babies born in that circumstance were given birthright citizenship.
Because they were still citizens, like, obviously. Like, how is this even, how do you even ask this?
So it seems as though this concept of allegiance of the parents really wasn't driving
this is the
birthright
Supreme
citizenship,
Court.
at least at this period
Can you believe
of
this?
our history. So are you saying this is wrong, or they shouldn't have gotten birthright citizenship?
Well, if they were domiciled here, yes, they should have. If they were temporarily present, then no. But the executive practice we can see from the 1930s.
How does the temporary presence run with your concept of allegiance? I'm not sure I understand. So can you be clear?
How does somebody not being a citizen and only being here temporarily mean that they're not allied to the United States? Is this a real question? This is crazy.
Are you saying that only people who are domiciled here, as you define it, can form the necessary loyalty to the United States?
It's not allegiance is not a question of subjective loyalty.
Okay.
It is something you owe. It's a reciprocal relationship between the citizen, whether they want it or not. They have that allegiance, and I think it's powerfully
on the basis of what?
Domicile. I mean, that's what it says in so many words in the Venus and the Pizarro. It says, look, if you're talking about an alien, if they're just temporarily passing through, no, they don't have allegiance. But if they've made it,
especially if they've invaded the country,
permanent home, they become part of our political community, and they are analogous or akin to citizens.
All right, just quickly, because I'm mindful of the time. What do you do with Won Kim Ark's statement? That
I think that we saw this part already. Yeah, it's just, it's absolutely couldn't define a woman during her confirmation. Yeah, I mean, if you can't define what a woman is, I mean, how this is the type of just insanity that people are putting up with nowadays. Like, if you can't define what a woman is, you have no business having anything to do with writing laws.
No,
This man is, again, I'm just gonna end this with this. The most simplistic men of society have often dictated our futures, and our futures have oftentimes been set in pathways by bloodshed, slavery, rape, pedophilia, the colonial conquest that has led to the death of millions of people, and the complete slaughtering of self-respect from people, installing an inferiority complex. I believe that in time we will soon dethrone these people, because a lot of them do end up with a lot of sexual assault charges, they end up with a lot of pedophile accusations, and they always end up with some sort of revenge tapes or some sort of hate-filled agendas, that of which they all push forward with, as long as I'm not convicted, as long as I'm not someone who's with the out group, because if that same accusation hit a white man that was at the lowest levels of society, they will be outcasted and thrown away. You put someone on top of society with those same accusations, suddenly you have politics discussing culture, you have politics discussing law and order saying technically not happening, and then you take those same laws and you apply it to black and brown people, and you have yourself an extermination unit. You have a reason to kill people. You have a reason to look down on human beings, because even though they are innocent, even though they are people who are hardworking, they are not given the same leniency as a president who is a convicted rapist, or any of the Republicans who defend the states who have child marriage, or any of the people of which who came before, who slaughtered white men to make sure slavery or discrimination was gotten rid of through bloodshed. These people are not going to last for long. I promise you, as long as you make your voice heard, as you get active in your community, you talk about who is and who is not available to talk about this issue, you're gonna find out who is loyal to the people, who is loyal to the Constitution, who is loyal to law and order, and who is loyal to liberty and justice for all. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, leave a like and subscribe. I'm going to be doing a lot more analysis on Asmongold. He's been leaving my radar for a little bit. I've been attacking the other misogynist, Myron. So we're going to get back to a lot of more political input from a guy who gets millions of views off what I would say is a platformed opinion of fascism and white supremacy on Twitch and YouTube. Thank you for watching.